Hello and welcome to another tier list video on the bonus points. My name is Ollie Guy, joined always by my beautiful co-host, Joseph Garrett.
That's me. That's the way I describe myself.
How are you doing, Joseph?
I'm excited. Like I really enjoyed the last tier list of this ilk that we did.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm excited that other people enjoyed it, so it's easier for us to justify doing another one.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I'm excited, because everyone asked for this, and we're finally fulfilling what people want rather than doing
Sometimes
what we want.
it's a lot of the time we're either doing what we want or what other people want. It's nice when that's the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. So the last buttons tier list video we did was PlayStation. And it was super in depth. We did like left on the D-pad versus right on the D-pad. This one is Nintendo, and I've picked the buttons for this one, and I've made them a little bit more general because I feel like left on the D-pad versus right on the D-pad is the same no matter what console you're on. So these are more interesting Nintendo-y kind of options. And I've also written the name of the console for all of them, except for Mike. I don't know why I didn't write the name of the console for that one. But I mean, when we come to it, maybe you could try and guess what console it is. Okay, so I do have a slight concern going into this one, which is you weren't a true Nintendo kid, were you?
Not at all. My first Nintendo home console was the Wii U. I started at the peak.
Okay, but you went back and you played like GameCube, and you played them now, right?
Yeah, I've played older games like on the Switch and stuff, and like I had a Game Boy, and like I had friends with them, so I've probably touched all of these buttons in my life, but I'm not as familiar with them as compared to the PlayStation one.
Okay, well maybe you should stick with the ones you know, and with that you can go first.
Okay, I guess I'll do a Switch one first then. Let's do the Switch IR sensor.
Oh yes. You've used that with me. We've played a game that uses that.
Yeah, we played some Trombone Champ where you you play it by moving your hand back and forth. But I despite that, I think just for like how rare the use is and the fact that it's just making every Joy-Con a little bit more expensive that you buy, and you have to buy a lot because they always break, I think it really has to be an E, unfortunately.
Even though I think the majority of Labo is through the IR sensor.
Does that help its case? Is
No,
that
like the Labo piano, like that's quite cool. That's through IR, I think.
I guess it's quite unique. So let's put it in D for now.
It's
and then
aspirational.
Let's see,
it's like the touchpad.
Yeah. Let's see what E ends up looking like. I'm going to put it like right on the border.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I'm going to come in with an easy one, which is going to be the original D-pad. So Nintendo, I'm just going to put it in C for now. I will move it in a second. Nintendo invented and owned the patents for the original D-pad. That they basically made a handheld port of Donkey Kong, and then for that port they invented this little guy.
Wait, it was just is that the Game & Watch?
It was the Game & Watch. It was the later. They did a run of Game Watches, and I think the later iterations had this special D-pad on. I can show you the original D-pad that they used, which was very reminiscent of the Switch.
Oh yeah,
the Switch D-pad, which is pretty cool. But anyway, I think the original D-pad, there's no doubt in my mind that is an A. It's barely changed. If you get one of those cross-shaped ones that's all solid, you know exactly how it's going to feel, and you know it's going to be good. So I would easy A for me.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that we've kind of, I know it's not here, but like the Switch D-pad, which isn't a D-pad, it's kind of back to that original 4 buttons. And I understand why they do it for like 2, so you can play with a single Joy-Con. Like I understand why, but it is a sacrifice, it is much better to use the D-pad. But I will say the Switch Pro D-pad looks like that, but I don't think it's a good D-pad. I do not like
really?
the Switch Pro controller D-pad. No, it's too imprecise. Like you'll be holding left, but then if you move up a bit, it will count the up as well. It's too easy and I struggled playing Celeste with it. It annoyed me. I actually went back to the Joy-Con to have the separate buttons, even though I didn't like it as much.
So there's benefits to both, but I don't want to take away from the original D-pad. Absolute game changer.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not arguing it. It should.
It deserves to come down to C or D for that.
Right then, let's God, I tell you what, like I know Nintendo are pretty good. There's a lot of rubbish ones on it.
Yes, there is, but I wanted to balance it out, but there also being a lot of good ones. So
yeah, there are a lot of good ones as well. I'm going to do the 3DS home button. That's like a horrible, mushy button. Is it like the long, thin, rectangular one?
Yes, I specifically found. So the 3DS, the new 3DS had separate buttons, but the original one had the long, flat button.
Yeah. That feels horrible. It always feels like you're like not pressing it. It's just so mushy and nothing. I think because there are worse things, I'm going to join it in with the IR sensor in at D.
Same level as well. Like
see, the thing is, the IR sensor's unused, and then the home button's used all the time, but is bad. So I think they end up in the same place, but for different reasons.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I'm going to go SNES eject button. Have you ever used this button before?
Yep, many times.
This is a good button.
Yeah, so it's like spring loaded. It's like feels like a mechanical button. Yes. It's not like digital.
Well, not even that. If you're a young child, as I once was with a SNES, if you hammer that button, you can get the cartridge to fire out.
It's like a toaster.
I love this. I love this SNES eject function and the button, but I do feel like as an adult, I'm now looking at it as a potential fail point. Like your game could get stuck because of this button.
Yeah, I never, the friends that I had, that was never a problem, but I guess that's a potential, I suppose.
I think maybe you could still go for B. If we don't have any anecdotal evidence of it getting stuck.
Yeah, I don't think we can dock it because it could break, but we have no idea if it could. We have things on the list that we know do break.
Yeah. We'll come to them. So there we go.
Okay, right. I want to do a more positive one. Let's do the N64 C buttons.
I think they're like.
Oh, actually, there's an obvious place. I guess they should go in C. It's in the name, right? I think that's actually an okay place for them to belong. I mean, they're just like super solid face buttons, right? There's nothing really special about them.
I think they're mostly used for the camera.
Yeah, I guess it's because there's only that single middle analog stick.
Yeah.
And so I guess for 3D aiming, they're not used, but I feel like most of at least Nintendo's N64 games didn't use it for camera. They kind of were more using like lock-on.
Mario 64, you could like nudge the camera. It wouldn't swing, but you could nudge it. I don't know about Zelda. I can't remember. Oh, Zelda didn't use it for the ocarina?
Yeah, well...
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
So I know you don't use for camera, you'd use basically Navi, and it was like lock-on, and it was like Navi would fly next to what you attack.
I think C's good.
Are you thinking D then?
No, C's good. C's good. I don't remember it being in an awkward position. I remember not using them much, but I had much smaller hands back then. So
yeah,
I don't ever remember having to like do this, which in my mind, I probably didn't.
No, because you'd often end up holding the controller like one hand in the middle, so the other one's like move up, I guess.
I did originally have on here N64 L button, the top left, and I was like the most unused button ever because it was like above the D-pad. You'd have to like.
Yeah.
No, I think C is good. Okay, from one C to another. What about the Wii C button, which was only available on the nunchuck?
Okay, and that's the little one.
The little one. It's not a good button.
No,
it's squishy. It's small. You need to buy an attachment for it. I think it's weak. Also, I don't even remember any games. I remember using Z. Don't remember using C. So I think that could be that's a solid D tier. I think not on the threshold. That is solid.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's probably the least memorable button out of all of them on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try and do another. I wanted to be positive with the last one, but I only got to C. I don't know. This may be controversial. We'll see. But I'm going to do the Wii Remote Motion.
Yep.
And I think that should be an A, despite some of the imprecisions with it, and obviously with like VR or even the PlayStation Move, like the precision has been surpassed. But it didn't really matter. It was good enough to completely revolutionize gaming, and that was like a fun, weird time where like non-gamers were playing games and like it was exciting. Like I mean, it's what the Wii is. Like the Wii is those motion controls, one of the best-selling consoles of all time. I think it should be an A.
Yeah, do you know what surprised me though? It's like, you're not wrong, it should definitely be an A. You're saying like it revolutionized the controls, but actually PlayStation and Xbox didn't go to remote. They stayed as controller. And the Switch has kind of given up a lot of its remote motion stuff. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
that Wii was that popular and everyone else was just like that, like hand wave.
Well, I think what it is. So when I say revolution, I don't think it evolved the industry, but it like for that generation it did, and they both tried. You know, with Kinect and PlayStation Move, they both tried to copy. But I think the thing with the Wii is it sold loads of hardware, but relatively low software in comparison. And I think that was like the long-lasting takeaway was, you know, it was a bit of a novelty, and like your grandma played Wii bowling, and that was kind of enough for her. She wasn't buying like Mario Galaxy 2 or like like Skyward Sword. So I think that is almost the takeaway from the Wii and why people aren't fighting that fight outside of VR anymore.
Yeah, definitely an A. Definitely agree with that.
Okay.
Okay, what am I going to do? Let's try and keep it positive still. I've got, okay, I tell you what, N64 analog stick. So Nintendo did not invent the analog stick, but they definitely popularized it. And they loved it so much. Do you know how many walk speeds Mario has in Mario 64?
No.
He's got 5. 5 different angles of the stick you can do to make him move at different speeds, with a few different animations as well. Not every single one has its own, but that's crazy they did that. They bothered to do that. I guess the negative, these do break. I've seen a lot of floppy analog sticks, and also they had that problem with people grinding their hands on it, so they had to give them gloves
because they were like locked in. Like they would be like they wouldn't have full range of motion if you push them to the side. They were like little ridges.
That's right, gated sticks
to lock them into a position, which in some games, like even today, still works. Like they actually. Like one of the reasons I like Minecraft Console Edition is they kind of did that digitally, which meant if you're like building like a big line of blocks, you only have like 8 axes of movement there, which means you can just hold left trigger and hold a direction, and you could do it forever and you'd never mess up. Whereas other versions, like you could have any slight movement, which means at some point you're going to drift. And so even though obviously the analog stick doesn't physically have that, they added that to the game, you know, almost closer to PC, because PC kind of has that with WASD. You kind of have 8 directions you can go in. So in some games it still like works really well, but in other games, like you completely don't want that. So I realize why we've moved away from it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the GameCube also had gated on both its sticks as well.
Yep.
But anyway, it's still an A, I think, despite all that. Nintendo stuff is just the stuff that's good is really good, isn't it? So it's going to be
and then when you compare it to PlayStation, which obviously, you know, it didn't have analog sticks, like at least at launch, and to control 3D games with a D-pad, like so it's, you know, like they saw the what the future was going to be for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, right, we're being too positive. Let's bring this down. Let's do the 3DS right nub. We're talking about nubs again, Ollie. It's that time of the week. It's nub o'clock. Oh dear. I mean, this thing's so it's kind of weird. I mean, one thing that annoys me loads, and you can kind of see by this picture. Actually, I might even just ruin it and make it bigger for a bit. Is the fact that because it's a retrofit, see the way they've had to slightly like chisel out. Like
I didn't actually notice that. I didn't notice it
to make it. And I really saw it was also on the Steam Deck. The face buttons are too near. One of them's too near the edge, like the B button, and like it's like I always feel like it's. I like elegant design, and that's unelegant design. It's awful to use. So for those who haven't used it, basically it's almost like an analog stick, but it has like next to no movement. So you kind of just are pushing against like a solid little nub, which is it doesn't feel great, but it does enable you to have camera controls on the 3DS. You know, I played Majora's Mask with the nub, and it was much better than Ocarina of Time, which was released before the nub and doesn't support the nub. Right. And so it did make things better, but it's a bad implementation of it. So that's why I'm kind of between D and E. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts.
I never had a 3DS that had a nub, so I never used it. But I went into the Bonus Points Discord and was asking people for suggestions. Because I got a bit stuck on buttons at around 24, and I needed a few more. And I think it was Penguin Panther messaged and said, what even is that grey thing on the right of the 3DS? Like, they have a 3DS, I didn't even know that it was a button or anything. Like,
that does identify one of the other problems, is because Nintendo sold like a billion normal 3DSs.
Yeah.
No games wanted to put anything useful on it because they knew most players wouldn't have it. So it was really underutilized. Yeah, I mean, it's an E. This is the first E.
Yeah. Okay. All right. E. It's in the E. There we go.
Yeah.
Right. What can I pick now? I'm going to try and do something positive. I actually think on the 3DS, the other side, the circle pad, is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an upgrade over the PSP nub. It's kind of like the next version of it, and I don't ever remember having a single problem with it.
No, I really like it. It feels nice as well. That kind of sort of almost slightly rubbery texture.
Yeah, and the way it springs back is nice too. So could that be an A?
Yeah, I think that's an A. Yeah, I agree with it. But it's better than the PSP nub. Like it's a bigger size. It's kind of more natural. Like it's concave. I always get confused with those.
Yeah,
right? Concave.
Yeah, concave.
Yeah. So and I think that's better for a thumb.
Yeah, it's good. That's a good solution. I'm surprised.
Is it A or B? Is that B? Like comparing it to like the D-pad?
Oh no, yeah. Do you know what? You are right. The circle pad feels like a replacement for an analog stick. So it feels like we can't have an analog stick, so we have to have this. Whereas the other ones kind of stand on their own.
Yeah.
So I think you're right.
I mean, for the 3DS, I would rather that than an analog stick, so I can close it. But like, it's the best it could kind of be for that situation. But it is almost, because it's remote, it is a compromise.
Imagine if it couldn't close all the way, and that's just how they sold it, and it was like, always partly open.
It's just like bent over. Like,
yeah. Like, oh, don't close it too hard because it'll smash the screen.
There's just two holes in the screen. It's just like, oh dear. Right, I am going to cheat, and I'm going to put two on together.
Okay, go on.
I'm going to do the touch screen twins, but don't panic. I'm not putting them in the same place.
Absolutely not.
Because I think DS touchscreen goes higher, and so I'm going to leave that between A and B, and we'll come back to it. And I'm going to put the Switch touchscreen in C. What do you think? Or do you think lower?
I think the Switch touchscreen is good, but it's so underutilized to the point where I wish they just didn't include it and made the Switch cheaper.
So one of the things is, like, I know we don't play many of them, but there's a whole load of mobile ports that come to Switch, and I think it's good for that. And then also for like text entry, I think just for like typing in passwords or redeeming codes and stuff. Like I am glad that it's there. So I think C. I think if I look at D and compare it to the Switch IR sensor, like I think it is like a step above that for usefulness, which is why I'm okay with C. But I understand your point. Like I'm very rarely gaming on it.
Yeah. Have you played the what's it called, FX Pinball on the touchscreen?
Not on the touchscreen. I've played it with triggers.
You can turn the Switch sideways and just tap the left and right of the screen in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It is pretty good. But that's the only use I can think of outside of typing that I've ever.
I bet there's a bunch of like good games that do use it that we've never played, like mobile ports.
Maybe we're guessing.
Possibly, I don't know.
Maybe C's good for that.
C's
down the middle. C's down the middle. Where are you going to put? Where are you going to put the DS touchscreen?
I'm tempted to go A.
I was thinking about it, and I don't ever remember hearing of one failing. Like, it was good. It was accurate.
And it was like, because it was like the DS was about the touchscreen, like so many games used it, and like they knew you were going to have a stylus, so they allowed it to like have precision. Like, I think because it was so core to what it is, and so many like even third-party games used it, like I think it's a strong contender for A. Like even if I don't really like touchscreen gaming that much, or didn't really play the original DS that much, and buy 3DS, like the touchscreen was used less. So I think DS is quite cool. I know you're a big DS fan, so I'm kind of more curious about what you think.
Well, this sort of touchscreen isn't around anymore because this is pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So considering that, it was pretty good because now it's all capacitive, isn't it? It's like electrons firing, whatever. I think that might be the best pressure sensitive touchscreen they ever did. That and the 3DS. I think the 3DS probably used probably the same one. I think for that, it could go in A. I mean, if Nintendo do anything right, it's unique control methods. So they're going to have a lot in A, to be fair. I think it could go in A.
Okay, let's put it in A for now.
For now, he says. It's coming down. Right.
It was looking pretty heavy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, this will be a low one, but I don't know how low. Switch SL and SR. These are the tiny little buttons on the top of the Joy-Cons, which necessary for splitting the Joy-Cons off, but in every other way, they're pretty bad. They're flat, you can't feel them, they're small. You need to use an adapter if you want to have them properly on, and even then, they're pretty bad. But at the same time, it does mean you can play Mario Kart in co-op.
Exactly, that's the hard thing.
Yeah.
It's almost in the PSP nub family where it's like, sure, it's not amazing, but like the fact that I can bring a device, prop it up on a stand, pop this off, we both have a controller and we can play a game with triggers, and it's with the adapter, it's better, still not amazing, but that makes it much closer. Like, you know what you're getting into when you're playing a party game and you're popping those out. And it's I was like, oh, we do it this way, or we could do it in no other way. Like, it's the only thing, true. It's the only thing like it. So like, I'm not talking A or B here, but I'm actually thinking maybe, despite them maybe being the worst buttons to physically press, I think the uniqueness and like genuine usefulness might get it a C.
Should we put it in on the brink of C and D?
Okay. There's going to be like a domino. The DS is going to fall down the screen, knock that down. It's going to knock down the IR sensor. It's all going to collapse soon.
I think you might be right. I'm just worried maybe we're going... Because with the PlayStation one, we were very strict on the button feel. And we were rarely like the 6-axis we talked about what we use it for. But apart from that, we're mostly like...
But this is Nintendo. I think it's like we're evaluating what we're evaluating, and Nintendo have different goals to Sony. So I think that's why we've kind of changed a little bit.
Okay. Well, do you want to pick your next one? I'm just going to make some space.
I'm just going to put the Switch sticks down in E. Right, you'll go. What do you...
I 100% agree. The Switch is the worst made console I've ever owned. It does my head. I love the Switch. I have a Switch. I have a day one Switch with loads of games. My sticks don't work. My HDMI connection doesn't work. The sticks on both sides are broken. I've replaced one of them, and now the right one is drifting, which I didn't even know it could happen on the right one. Just terrible. Absolutely terrible. And Nintendo seems to just be brushing it under the rug and not bothered about the fact that it doesn't work.
I own 6 Joy-Cons, and I currently have 2 that work because I had to keep buying them. And like, Nintendo say you can send them back and they'll fix them for free. You send them back broken, and then they send them to you broken again. Yeah, and it's sort of like, how many times am I going to do it? Like, I just have to buy new ones. Like I think they're awful, and the fact that like they released like the OLED model and they didn't still kept this problem, didn't fix it. Like it's been too long. They would have got away with it maybe if it was like edition 1, like that was like launch ones. The fact that we're like 7-8 years whatever into the Switch life cycle and it's still a problem. Like I almost want to put them somewhere like a new category. Like,
well, you could put them low E maybe.
Yeah, I'll put them like just delete them. Just get rid of them.
Just delete them. Yeah, delete them.
Is there something we could do? Can we make it like red or something? Is there something we could do
I'm
to
sure
like
there's something we
separate
can do.
it?
Let me
Can we just put like a sad face emoji over it or something?
Maybe I could put there's got to be something I can put. Oh, we go a cross over it. There we go. Oh, and then we'll make it red.
That's actually quite fitting because it looks like it's like injured and needs to be like healed. It's broken.
Or it's doing the collaboration test, not calibration test,
yeah.
Right, there
failing.
we go. That's now, and we'll put it low as well. There we go. It's low, and it's got a red cross over it. Terrible.
Right, yeah, we don't want it to contaminate all of the other ones.
Okay, I think it might be time to start getting some GameCube buttons up there. And I'm going to say something people are not going to agree with, and then they're going to realize I'm just saying the truth. The GameCube controller is a mixed bag. It's got some good buttons and it's got some terrible buttons. Shoulder buttons, pretty good. I think better in theory than they are in practice. So they have the half press, and then you push them all the way in and they go all the way down. Good in theory, but I seem to remember a lot of the games, you just press them all the way down. And they were quite a long throw for that in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I think C, maybe a high... No, C right in the middle. Right in the middle, I think, for the shoulder buttons on the...
Shall we go through all just the GameCube ones now?
Yeah, you go ahead. You choose one.
Well, I mean, Big A's good. Nothing wrong with Big A. Just like... As far as I know.
Yeah, it is good, but I do think like there's a reason they don't make controllers like that anymore. And now they all look like the Xbox
I guess
controller.
because it's like having one button so dominant compared to like them spread out. But like if we're looking at A, like
on its
A
own.
is good and all of everything else suffered. So
I think so.
If we're separating them up, so maybe A could go up to B.
A can go up to B. And then what about the bean buttons? Y
so
and X.
they're sacrificed. Like that Y button has been done dirty by Big A.
Yeah, I think maybe they could be in D. They feel fun to press, but they're kind of fiddly and kind of stupid, and they're not even color coded either. So it's a bit like they lose that too that the other buttons have. So I think D is fine for them.
And then I don't really know that Z button. Really, I can't really remember pressing it.
I don't know her. Who is she?
I've never met her. I've never met her.
I'll put D tier again. Squishy button doesn't click, just squishes in.
Okay.
Not much fun.
Okay.
Again,
mixed
another
bag,
button we don't
GameCube.
use. Yeah,
You've proven your point.
Definitely a mixed bag. Okay, well with that, you can go next, I think.
Okay. Let's do the 3DS slider. So we're evaluating the slider or the 3D functionality of the 3DS?
I mean, if we're just doing the slider, it is a good slider because it's got that little notch in it.
Yeah, it's got a proper stop.
Yeah.
But how often do you ever use it?
I tell you what I used to do is I'd turn the 3D on and then put it down till it hits the notch. So it was the lowest possible effect because it used to sharpen the graphics up a bit.
Okay.
But that's it. I never went further than that. I was always lowest notch.
So the free, because I know you've not played the new 3DS, but they fixed 3D. Like it works. It has eye tracking or head track, whatever. And like it works the way it always should, because obviously the original one, you'd have to be in the exact right position. And they'd be like, the 3DS, you can play it anywhere. And you play it on the train and you're bouncing up and down and you're getting motion sick from it going blurry. The other thing with 3D...
It would have gyro, right? Some of the games had gyro and it was like you couldn't even use it because...
You'd have to move and move your head at the same time. Then the other thing with the 3D is it compromised performance. And so it got to a point, especially later in the 3DS life cycle, where a lot of games would come out and they would say there's no 3D option at all because of performance, even including like Pokemon games, like Nintendo games, they were even
I remember.
Doing it. So I think 3D overall, despite like how impressive it was, like 3D no glasses, like that as a sentence, that was kind of crazy. But actual implementation outside of, I think maybe Super Mario Land, which I think is the best use of 3D that I ever had on the console. I think everything combined, I think D. I think the novelty of 3D, the quality of the slider keeps it out of A tier for what was overall, I think, a failed experiment from Nintendo.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with everything you just said. My best 3D experience was Mario Kart. That's what made me buy I tried it in game. I played Mario Kart, turned the 3D on, and I bought a 3DS there and then. I wasn't even planning on buying one because it was that good.
You just stole that one. You ripped it out of like the security thing.
The security wire came out like its spine, like ripped out. But yeah, no, you are right. After that, I don't remember really using it again. So,
you were in game, you turned on the 3D, and you were so immersed, you tried jumping through the screen, thinking it was a portal.
Were you there? How do you know?
Because you're like you're face planting it over again like a fly on a lamp, like trying to like let me in.
It looks lovely in there. Right. I think we're starting to get to some now that I probably know more intimately than you know. So I'm going to pick the ones I think you probably won't have used. So Wii top middle. So
what's that?
Is the Wii Classic controller had L and R.
Okay.
Then in between it had ZL and ZR, and in between them it had another button, which is this.
Is it like really thin button?
It's really thin, and what it's for attaching and unattaching like accessories to that controller. But Nintendo never released an accessory that used it. So every controller has this button on that has no use to anyone or anything. And so I thought we should include it because it is the only completely useless button on this list. So
still better than the Switch sticks, though.
It's going to go higher than the very bottom. It's going to go higher, but it is still going to be an E.
Do you want to hear a modern example of that?
Mm-hmm.
I could show you. So the Valve Index, which I have here, it has like this comes off. And then inside, there's like a little compartment and there's like a USB interface there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, what's that for? I looked it up and Valve are basically like, yeah, we just added that there because we could. But like, I guess like developers could come up with some use for it. So I don't know, maybe
so
someone.
Doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so like there was no intention. It was just like there was space to add it there. And they're like, well, we might as well. So there's just like a USB port like in the front of your headset.
I suppose that's a lot better than the top middle button on the Wii.
That's true. I'm sure some developers used it for some reason, but like out the box, like it does nothing.
yeah, fair enough. That's funny. So, what are you going for? Yeah, it's you.
Okay, yeah, we are really running out of ones that I know well. I'm going to do one that you definitely know better than me because I only have played your one of it, and that is the Donkey Kong bongos.
Yes, I'm referring to the actual pads themselves as the button there on that. The drum pads. Because it has a mic as well, but I specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's like I think they're really good. Like I like the I only ever played the platforming game that you do with it where you're kind of like hitting them and like jumping and stuff, and like there's times you got to spam it. I have not played the rhythm game. I think that game's really fun. Kind of hurts your hands after a while if you go a bit too hard. Yeah. Or maybe I'm just a little bit fragile. But I think like for the promise of like game controller that's bongo drums, like I think it delivered it to where if I got that as like a kid or I guess teenager, as I guess I would have been, like I wouldn't have been disappointed like a lot of things like that I think you would expect. So I'm thinking maybe B.
I think maybe the one negative I've got against it is that if it's not plugged in, it doesn't make a sound of a bongo at all. It doesn't sound like one when you hit it. It just sounds like you're hitting a controller. Whereas like, you know, the Taiko drum game, that makes a drum sound when you hit it with a stick, whereas the drum sound comes out the TV on that. That's the only negative I have on the
How much of a negative is, because it's like with any of these other buttons and stuff, it's like, yeah, but if you don't turn the 3DS on and you do the 3DS slider, it doesn't make it 3D.
It's a drum. Like, it's a bit different. It's a drum.
It's a controller in the shape of a drum. Like, I don't think they're saying, like, you can buy bongo drums that can also work with, like, it's very much they are there to control it. Like, I get, like, it would be better.
It would be better
if they did just sound like drums. I don't know if I could. I don't think that's enough to knock it down a tier because of that.
Low B. What about low B?
Okay, low B.
Because also, bongo drums, the technology from them is thousands of years old. It's not like they don't know how to make a bongo. So they could have done something.
No, but to be able to, like, mass produce it in a way that's not too expensive and it detects it and it's not going to break and it's got to have, like, be repairable. Like, to make it as a product isn't as easy as, just make a drum. And also, I mean, it should be in B because bongos, Bongos, we gotta.
True. Okay, I am going to pick the NES Advantage Turbo. So the NES Advantage was Nintendo's own arcade stick, first party, and it has, as far as I could find, the first ever turbo buttons on, which you kind of press them and then you press another button and it will like rapidly input that. Which, growing up, every kid I knew had turbo on their controller would accidentally map it to start. And the game would just pause and unpause over and over again. But I thought the fact that it's the first ever turbo. So there's 2 turbo buttons here, and they are A and B. They're the buttons that are directly underneath it. And above it, you can adjust the speed of the turbo with the dials. That's all pretty cool. And I thought it was worth pointing out. I've never actually used it. So I don't know if it's any good.
Yeah, I wonder how useful it is. I mean, my first thought is it's like what it inspired ruined a lot of my time playing Gears of War Online. Because if you remember, when you had a Lancer out with the chainsaw, and I think Gears 2 was the first one they did it, and you'd have to spam B to or X, and whoever does it fastest wins. And some people would win instantly, and you're like, they're using a turbo controller.
Oh,
and
I see.
I wonder whether this is if this didn't happen, I wonder if that wouldn't. Yeah, I wonder if I'd have had a better KD in Gears of War 2.
Maybe, but I think things like Mega Man, you just press the button down and he just shoots repeatedly. Like that's quite cool.
But it's like, I feel like the developers' intentions aren't bearing that in mind, and is that like taking something away from the game? If they intended, like if they balance the game with the idea that to input it's restricted by like the physical limits of a human thumb, is it kind of going against developers' intentions? Like do we want to reward that?
I think we could reward it by putting it in a high D.
Okay, yeah.
It's
like putting like a Game Shark on the list or something, you know?
Because it was made by Nintendo. This is first party. This is their thing.
But I know I'm not saying it's like cheating or anything, but like the developers making games, especially obviously third party developers, I don't think they're making them with that in mind. And like to get like, I'm not being the police here, I'm not telling people off for using it, but I feel like that does make it a little bit less cool.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. Even though you're only cheating yourself, you're still cheating yourself.
People can't help themselves. It doesn't matter. People can't help cheating themselves.
Right.
Then again, anytime a game asks me to spam a button, I hate it. And if there's an accessibility option to turn that off, I immediately do.
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of old arcade games like Metal Slug. I have turbo switched on because my hands are too old to hammer a button for 45 minutes like that. Anyway,
the only game that I really like it when it makes me spam a button is Metal Gear Solid 4, the ending. As bad as that is physically, like that is the only time where I feel like it's been justified.
Yeah, fair.
Right.
Fair.
Anyway, moving on. I'm really running out here. Let's tackle this mic. Let me get this a bit bigger. Let me see if I can. I'm not. Is that like Wii U?
It is Wii U. It is, but it's on so many Nintendo consoles that it kind of just applies to. They're all the same mic, aren't they? They're all just a little hole that you blow on. That's all they are.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's because no one's using like TeamSpeak with this or whatever, and like party chat or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, is it just like gimmick rare use cases in games? Is that like its only use? Yeah,
it was like Wii U had one, 3DS had one, the DS had one, I think, and the Japanese version of the NES had one as well. But every single one of them is just like blow on the mic.
Yeah, I mean, is it just E then?
Yeah, because it's not even good enough to like recognize you speaking. Although actually saying that, we did do brain training, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it does recognize what you're saying on that. So it's quite effective, underutilized. I never want to be speaking to my console though. I never want to be doing that.
Especially a portable console. I know that's the Wii U one, but it's still,
it still counts,
I don't want to be doing that. Like, especially if you're like on your own, just sitting in front of the sofa, and it's like, pick your character, and I'm like, Yoshi. Like, I don't want to be doing that. Like,
yeah, true. Okay, I think that's a fine place for it. Okay, I'm going to pick another Wii U one, which is the Wii U TV control button. So you could sync up your Wii U gamepad to your TV, so you could change the channel and change the volume using the gamepad, which I think was a hangover from the Wii remote looking like a TV remote, and everyone being like, "Oh, it's a TV remote. I know how to use that." I did have.
So I do know that on the original Wii, Netflix was huge.
Yeah.
Like a surprising amount of people use their Wii for Netflix. And so I wonder if like that is kind of another reason as well. Is kind of for Wii, they were hoping to be the home entertainment system.
I think in the US they got more TV. They got like TV apps that we didn't get. Like that button had more functionality other than just opening a remote.
Yeah, maybe had like ESPN stuff in it and stuff like that, possibly.
But overall, failed idea. Pretty lame idea, to be honest. I think E's fine for that.
I have no idea whether my TV button works on my Wii U. I've never touched it. There's not a fingerprint on that thing.
I set mine up. I did set mine up and use it for the volume, but that was it. That was the only useful thing it had. I already had the gamepad. I could change the volume. Done.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I guess I do the Game Boy contrast wheel. So I'm not actually, despite being a Game Boy fan, I'm not actually like, my first Game Boy was the Pocket. I never had the original brick. So is that like a slide? Is that like a wheel? Is that like the volume wheel? Is that?
Yeah, it's literally just a dial, and it changes the contrast of the game from like fully black to fully white, and then every level in between, or fully green to fully light green, I guess.
Does it like lock on either side, or do you just spin to adjust?
I think it locks.
I mean, how is it?
I remember not ever really needing to change it after I found the one I liked. You know?
Is this another E?
I think maybe for accessibility reasons it should be a D, because it might help some people see it.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of looking a little bit at the usefulness as well as the button. It's kind of been a weird mix of the two. I mean, I just couldn't. I just don't even care. So D's fine. I couldn't care less about that thing.
Okay. So I'm assuming you've used the N64 Z button.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can have that, and I will do DS Lite Power, which was quite a cool little. You'd flick it up to turn it on, and it would ping back down, and then you would.
Oh yeah, I know.
Or you'd slide it up and hold it to switch it off. Pretty good power button. Probably one of my favorite.
The 3DS had the same, right?
I don't remember. The thing is, I have a DS right next to me, so it's like I was looking at that when I was doing this.
Should I go grab my 3DS quick? I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same. Then I can join in.
You've brought them all back.
But I couldn't. So I could only find the new 3DS, which I'm just going to show off because it's the Majora's Mask one.
Yeah.
And so that's got a button.
Is it got the bottom right button? Is it the like little fat?
It's just got a little power button.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't find my other 3DS one. It's the one that we used to record brain training, and I don't know where we put it, that white one. But I did also find my Wii U.
There it is.
And I want to press the TV button for the first time ever.
Love
it's a clicker.
It's a clicker. It's a clicker.
It's actually
quite a nice click.
Pretty
never
solid.
been clicked. It's never been clicked in its whole life.
As if new.
Yeah.
I couldn't find my 3DS, but I've definitely used that on something. I'm not sure what.
So the little you're talking about the little slider. Also, do you know what's mad is that I've not used this for like maybe a year.
Oh, has it got battery?
It does. It's on red, but it has battery.
Let me try my Oh, have I lost it already? Let me try this one. This one I don't. This is probably about 3 years since I've turned this on. Well, what game's in it? Oh, Animal Crossing New Leaf is in it, to give you an idea. Will it turn on? What do you reckon? What's your guess?
I don't think so. I don't think it's got the battery life of this.
I think you're right. I think it's dead.
Mate, I was looking at this just now where you went to go and get your stuff. This is the best thing Nintendo ever made. Look how cool this little thing is. It's so good.
Yeah. That's what I want. This is what I keep going on about when I keep talking about like the Steam Deck and stuff and extra credit is I miss a console like this that you can literally put in your pocket in your backpack and not even notice it. Like I'm desperate for it. The Switch is as close as we have right now, and it's not it.
Right, DS Lite Power B done. Probably the best power button I've ever done.
B. Okay.
I love it. I love the little springy power button. It's great. It's absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you can even see it on the camera. It might be too blurry, but there it is. Beautiful. Great bit of kit, that.
Okay, final one. the back trigger for the Nintendo 64. I think for its day, it was pretty like top tier, but it's just been surpassed so much by better feeling triggers. I think probably
was it not
C.
the first trigger though? Was it not the first?
Yeah, possibly. I'm sure there's a few things like it's sort of like, like on the SNES, like are those things triggers or bumpers or whatever? I don't know exactly what the definition is, but I think, as I say, in its day, it was probably about as good as you're going to get, but I don't think it's as good as modern triggers, and so I think C, middle of the road, is kind of probably a good place for it to end up.
Yeah, I think so. Also, the fact that it's only for your left hand. There's only one and it's on the left. I always found that to be a bit odd, but I think that's fair enough. Where you put it. C.
Quite an even split overall compared to the PlayStation 1.
Well, a lot of them are in D though, aren't they? D's really filled up.
Yeah, they're very experimental, Nintendo. I will just say, in case you're thinking about commenting saying that we forgot about whatever button you're thinking of, we didn't. We considered it and we didn't want to do it. We've not forgot any buttons. We did every single button we wanted to do. We didn't forget that button, so don't worry about commenting it. We just didn't want to do it.
We only have space for 27 buttons, and Nintendo's history is too long to only have 27.
Yeah. We're like, this isn't half of the buttons Nintendo have made, so that's why we've not done every single button. But do feel free to comment your favorite or least favorite Nintendo buttons in the comments down below.
Can I have one cheeky move before we wrap this up?
Okay.
Just looking at your 3DS, I think the 3DS home buttons need to come down.
So yeah, this,
because your one's the newer version, right?
This one's got a good home button.
Yeah, the one I had a 3DS XL and it had 3 separate buttons in a row, and they were quite bad, but they were better than the tape button, which is what the bottom of that's like. So I think that can go down to E, and it also gives us space to fit them all in to D.
Yeah, compared to the other ones here, a lot of those are like either boring or not great. That home button actively, it's rare for a home button to stand out in your mind, but it stands out in my mind as like it's the sort of thing, if I like wasn't looking at the screen and I pressed it, I'd need to look at the screen to see if I did press it or not. Compared to the other buttons. So yeah, I think that's a fair enough move.
Yeah, I also seem to remember a lot of their home button wore away because of the like plasticky tape that it was on. Anyway, yeah, as Joe said, please let us know your favourite buttons. And if your list is different to ours, we put something in the wrong place, don't let us know. We don't want to know. We live in ignorance. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's what I'd rather be. So I think that's us.
Yeah, and I think that's probably us for these button tier lists. Like, I know obviously there's a big Xbox or maybe even a Sega gap, but I think that they probably aren't as different enough from these to be worth doing a whole nother tier list. So I think Nintendo would probably be the peak. So we were probably done for button-related tier lists going forward.
I thought we were doing shirt buttons, trouser buttons.
button noses.
Actually, do you know what?
Noses.
Do you know what would require some research that would be quite cool? Would be arcade. We have steering wheel, gun, table flip. All those different things.
Yeah,
dance.
I feel like there'd be a lot that you know that I don't, and it'd be a lot of like, I don't know.
Well, we'd have to go and do some research, wouldn't we?
Yeah, maybe we do it like maybe we go around an arcade with a clipboard and like test them all out live.
As if we couldn't get any cooler. Right.
Oh, we were trying to make a tier list, but we kept accidentally picking up babes. Oh, God.
Yeah. That's how the bonus points do it. Everyone knows that. Right. With that, thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.